Well, let's get controversial. Dare I enter into the debate on the virtue of pipelines or not, especially knowing that a lot of my American friends will be watching this video and that their president is not a fan of pipelines? Well, I'm not certain he's a fan or not, but it seems like all politics to me. He did veto the Keystone Pipeline, destined to take heavy crude oil from Alberta to the Gulf Coast for refining. Is this right or wrong? Well, I've just come back from a tour of the Alberta oil sands, and it was a very informative tour, one that will likely go down as one of my lifetime best information tours. First, I should probably correct the president on one small issue. This is not dirty oil from Canada. Every ounce of oil that comes out of the ground, no matter where it is, has to be refined. I would suggest we could call all of it dirty. The interesting thing about the bitumen coming out of Alberta is that it's heavy crude, capable of producing any type of end product from diesel to aviation fuel. Suppose we should inform the president all oil is dirty. Alberta simply extracts heavy crude, a rare find in North America. Part of the issue with this is there are refineries in the Gulf Coast that can only refine heavy crude. They're not all equipped to refine the U.S. light sweet crude. So in reality today, the Gulf Coast refineries are getting that Alberta oil. President Obama's claim of dirty oil the U.S. doesn't want, well, funny thing is, it's going there and it's being delivered to those Gulf Coast refineries by truck or rail, which frankly should be cause for concern to him, more so than pipes. You see, the oil is going to get to these refineries anyway, because it has to, because they need it to refine. So shouldn't we be finding the most efficient and absolutely the safest way to transport it? Of course, we all agree with that. Today, 280,000 barrels of oil are transported every day by rail. By 2016, that number will be 700,000. And while we know that oil will always be transported by rail, we should acknowledge that increasing the transportation method by rail or truck can only signal the likelihood of more and more accidents and more spills. So, here is a cause for concern. This first image that I'm going to show you is the number of rail terminals for oil transfers in the year 2010. Seemingly few, as much of the oil was carried by conventional truck from one place to another. Now for the scary part. This image is the one that simply demonstrates the necessity to be open to pipelines. This image is the number of rail terminals there are for oil transfers today. In just 4 or 5 years, the activity for moving oil has dramatically increased, and the most effective is by rail right now. There's been a lot of talk about how scary moving the oil by pipe would be in the advent of leakage or spills. But since we know that oil will move to these refineries on the Gulf Coast, do we want that oil on trucks or trains instead of pipes? Recognizing that any transportation could have its impacts, we have had spills and leaks in all sorts of rail accidents and trucking accidents. Stats over the last 10 years say the movement of oil through pipes shows that 99.9995% of the oil in those pipes reached the intended destination without incident. Sure, there are leaks or breaks, but it's the most regulated industry there is. As technology advances, we see better methods of monitoring, emergency shutoffs, and eventually we'll get it down to a loss close to zero. Right now, truck and rail traffic are jamming up the roadways and rail lines. We need to find a better way. Or we need to find a way to stop humans from needing or wanting all the oil that might just be a pipe dream right now. See, while the per capita use of petroleum is decreasing, the capita is growing. So more people using smaller amounts still means more oil is needed. And since alternative energy solutions haven't proven to be as reliable or sustainable, we may need oil for a number of generations yet to come. From my perspective, business needs to support these pipeline projects. We need to come together to ensure our politicians get the message that pipelines are the safest way we know to transport this desired and vital global commodity. Even in North America, where we work hard to reduce our dependency, it still grows. We still seek the best way to become energy independent, and what we need to do is to make sure we extract, refine, transport, and rehabilitate responsibly, safely, and efficiently. Rail or pipe? The right answer comes from you. And when you've figured it out, let your state, provincial, or federal legislators know. This is a sensitive issue, and some will simply not take the time to look at the facts. But if North America is going to be energy self-sufficient, end up being a global economic leader, we need to act fast and responsibly. I'm Greg DeRocher, and that's a moment for business.